In the last two sessions, we talked about word stress and sentence stress and how important it is for English. And now we are going to take up another feature, a suprasegmental feature, which is called intonation. And this is a very important aspect of English language. We will see what difference it makes when we don't pay attention to this aspect of English language. When we speak any language, including English, the pitch of our voice always keeps moving up and down. So the variation of pitch of our voice is what is known as intonation. The linguistic term for pitch is tone. The tone that we use when you make an utterance, what is its significance? What difference does it make? How is it used in English? And that is what we are going to see now. I will just start with a simple example. Suppose somebody asks me, "Are you married?" And I say, "Yes." Supposing somebody asks me, "Are you married?" And I say, "Yes." Supposing somebody asks me, "Are you married?" And I say, "Yes." Supposing somebody asks me, "Are you married?" And I say, "Yes." The same word "yes" is used as an answer to this question 4 times. The word is the same, but the tone that is used is different each time that I used it. What is the meaning that is conveyed by this? First time when I said, "Are you married?" "Yes." I said it with a kind of tone which is known as a falling tone. When I say that, it is a straightforward answer, and there is no other meaning that can be inferred from this. Yes, I am married, and that's it. That's what it means. Second time, "Are you married?" And I say, "Yes." I said it "yes" with a tone which is known as a rising tone. When I say this, it means I am not only married, but I have 2 children and I am very happy. That is the meaning it conveys. Third time, "Are you married?" And I said, "Yes." You see, I said it with a tone which is generally known as a level tone, which conveys the meaning that I am married, no doubt, but there is no charm in my marriage. What is the use? That is the meaning it conveys. Fourth time, when I said, "Are you married?" And I say, "Yes," this is a tone which is known as a falling rising tone. The meaning it conveys is, I am married, no doubt, but my wife ran away a long time back. This is the meaning it conveys. We think that we are using the right word, but if we don't use the right tone on it, your meaning may be distorted. You intend to say something and the listener will understand it in a different way. Misunderstanding takes place. Intelligibility breaks down, and it creates a lot of confusion to people. And that is the reason why this aspect is very important, especially for those who speak English as a second language. And when they are interacting with people who speak English as a first language, or people who come from a background of another language as a first language, this can create a havoc. Now let us see what are the main tones that we use in English. Falling tone. This is a tone where the pitch falls from a high level to a low level, something like this. We indicate it with a mark like this, slanting line. Falling tone. Something like when I say table, I said it with a falling tone. When I say yes, it's a falling tone. When I say no, it's a falling tone. Then we have a tone which is known as a rising tone. where the pitch starts from a low level and goes to a relatively higher level. And we indicate it with a mark like this, which is known as a rising tone. When I say something like yes, that is said with a rising tone. Yes, no. See, the first one was yes, and this one is yes, rising tone, no, so, table. This is a rising tone. And then we have what is known as a falling rising tone. That is a tone which is falling initially, and then again it has a twist and starts rising. It is indicated with a mark like this. Yes, no, table, see. This is a falling rising tone. Of course, a tone which is also used to a lesser extent in English, in native English, is what we call a level tone. That is, actually the pitch of that remains constant, which is indicated just with a mark like this, something like yes, no, table, chair. These are the basic 4 tones, and it is a very complicated way people use it, and it can bring about different shades of meaning in what you say. And therefore, if your speech has to be effective, if you want your listeners to get the actual meaning that you intend to convey, you have to use the right tone on the right word. Otherwise, it will create misunderstanding. You try to say something and the listeners will understand it in some other way. It may not give you the result that you want. And let us see how these tones are used in different situations in English. In ordinary statements, a falling tone is used. A falling tone is used to convey the meaning of completion, that your meaning is complete. For example, if I say something like, I'm sitting on the chair. If I say that, the meaning is complete, and therefore we say, I'm sitting on the chair, falling tone on chair. And on the other hand, if I say something like, I'm sitting on the chair, if I use a rising tone and say, I'm sitting on the chair, the meaning is incomplete. That means the listener is waiting for something else to be said. Like, I'm sitting on the chair and waiting to listen to you. I'm waiting to listen to you. And the listener will wait for you to say that. So, incompletion of meaning is indicated by a rising tone. And then, a rising tone is generally used for polite expressions in English. If you want to sound polite to others, if your speech has to be polite, then you better use the rising tone in your expressions, like this. Come in with a rising tone. On the other hand, if you use a falling tone and say, come in, that's an order. That's not polite. Come in, sit down, do it, if you like, never mind. You see, all these are polite expressions. And the secret of this politeness in expression is the rising tone. Many people, not knowing this, they try to use the word please but still sound rude. Like, please sit down. In spite of using the word please, it still sounds rude. Even without using the word please, if you use the right tone, rising tone, say, sit down, it sounds very polite. And then, 2 types of questions in English, WH questions and yes-no questions. A question like, what's your name? Where are you going? When will she come? What's the matter? Which one do you want? All these questions begin with a WH word, and these are known as WH questions. On WH questions, generally we use a falling tone. What's your name? When are you coming? What's the matter? All falling tones. We should not say it with a rising tone. We should not say, what's your name? Where is she going? What's the matter? No, that's not the characteristic tone. The characteristic tone is a falling tone. On the other hand, yes-no questions in English. In other words, questions for which the answer is either yes or no are said with a rising tone. For example, a question like, are you coming? Are you coming? The answer for which is yes, I am coming, or no, I am not coming. That is why this is known as a yes-no question. And yes-no questions are generally said with a rising tone. Are you coming? Is she rich? Can you do it? Is it fine? All rising tone. So WH questions, which are informatory questions, are said with a falling tone, and yes-no questions, which are confirmatory questions, are said with a rising tone. Then exclamations. In English, a falling tone is used on exclamations. How nice! How beautiful it is! What a shame! All these are said with a falling tone. This is the characteristic tone, and if you use that tone on these exclamations, it sounds very effective. And then, when do we use a falling rising tone? You have to be careful about this tone, because a falling rising tone conveys implied meaning, a reservation of statement made by the speaker. For example, if you're asking a person about, let us say, a woman, and you ask something like this, is she beautiful? Supposing the man says, she is beautiful, you see, a falling rising tone. She is beautiful. What is the meaning? The meaning is, she is beautiful, no doubt, but there is something wrong. There is a meaning that is implied there. If she is beautiful, if he wanted to say that she was beautiful, he would have used a falling tone and say, is she beautiful? She is beautiful, with a falling tone. But instead of a falling tone, when he said, she is beautiful, that means there is an implied meaning. She is beautiful, no doubt, but she is illiterate, or whatever it is. There is some implication there, a reservation. So this is another tone where we have to be very careful. Instead of using one tone, if you use another tone, the meaning changes, and the listener will understand you in a different way. Very common instances, people say, the way you talk, and this is, I'm talking about many Indians, they do not use a good falling tone which conveys assertion, definiteness, finality, decisiveness. These features are carried by a good falling tone in English. For instance, if somebody says, did you like the movie? And what he expects is an answer like, yes. Or if you didn't like it, no. It should have a good falling tone like this. Did you like the movie? Yes. Or no. But what people generally say in India is like this. Did you like the movie? Yes. Or something like, yes. Did you like the movie? No. or no. The definiteness is not there. This leaves the listener in doubt as to what I have in mind, you see, when you answer like this. So, a good falling tone is needed. Whatever you say, you should convey to the listener that you are sure about it. If you don't use that falling tone, if you use some other tone, it leaves the listener in doubt as to what you mean. For example, if a foreigner invites you for a lunch and say, would you like to join me for lunch? And if you say, yes, he will be confused. Why? What's wrong? What's wrong with me? What's wrong with my invitation? What he expects is an answer like, yes. Or if you don't like, if you can't make it, no. It should be with a good falling tone, yes or no. Instead of that, would you like to join me for lunch? And if you say, yes, that conveys the meaning that you are not happy going with him for lunch. So, this is where confusion begins, misunderstanding begins. Confusion because of the tone, not because of the word. The word is the same, but the way you conveyed it conveys a lot of difference of meaning. And this is very important for us to keep in mind. Intonation in conversation, in our day-to-day speech, in the living language, has different functions to perform. It has grammatical function, it has accentual function, and it has attitudinal function. Let us see this. What is the accentual function of intonation? In a speech, in our day-to-day speech, the speaker highlights a particular word in a sentence by initiating a major change in pitch on that item, on that word. And he does it through intonation. Example, if I say, I'm going to Bombay tomorrow morning. Or if I say, I'm going to Bombay tomorrow morning. Or if I say, I'm going to Bombay tomorrow morning. Or if I say, I'm going to Bombay tomorrow morning. It is the same sentence, but the meanings are different because I highlighted different words in my speech. How did I do that? I did it through intonation. I initiated a major change in pitch on that word or on that item which I wanted to highlight. For example, when I said, I'm going to Bombay tomorrow morning. Here my highlight is, it is to Bombay I am going, not to Delhi or Madras. On the other hand, if I say, I'm going to Bombay tomorrow morning, I'm not returning, I'm going to Bombay tomorrow morning. On the other hand, if I say, I'm going to Bombay tomorrow morning, not today. On the other hand, if I say, I'm going to Bombay tomorrow morning, not in the evening. You see, the highlighting is done intonationally in English. And remember, in writing, we have different means. In writing, we can underline that word, or you can use a capital letter, or you can highlight it with a color. All these facilities are available for you in writing. But in speech, you do it only in this manner by initiating a major change in pitch on that item. And this is the accentual function of intonation. And we have a grammatical function. What is the grammatical function of intonation? In speech, there is no punctuation. Punctuation is available only in writing. So, intonation does this work of punctuation in speech. I'll give you an example. For instance, let's say if you go to a restaurant and sit there, and imagine that it is a restaurant like the Irani restaurant, where it is generally the tea which is served and not the coffee. most people come there only for tea. And you go and sit there not knowing this, and the waiter comes to you, and you tell the waiter, coffee. And the waiter looks at you and says, coffee? And then you say, coffee. It is the same word which is used, just one word, by you and also the waiter. What is the difference? The difference is, when I said it, I made a statement saying that I want coffee, but when he said it, he asked me a question whether it is coffee that I want. He was surprised. See that again. When he came to me, I said, coffee, with a falling tone, coffee. And he said, coffee, with a rising tone, coffee. He's asking me a question, is it coffee that you want? Then I said, coffee, yes, it's a coffee that I want. It's the same word with different grammatical function. I said it as a statement and he said it as a question. And this difference is brought about only through intonation in speech. I don't say coffee full stop, nor does he say coffee question mark. See? So this is a function performed by intonation in English. Thirdly, there is an important function performed by intonation which is known as attitudinal function. This is a very important function of intonation in English. Your attitude is conveyed more by the tones that you use rather than by the words that you use. Whether you are rude or polite, whether you are interested or disinterested, whether you are casual or whether you are serious, whether you are definite or whether you are unsure, all these attitudes are carried by the kind of intonation that you use on your expression. Take, for example, a sentence like this. Why did you come here? Why did you come here? Why did you come here? See, the same sentence said in three different ways using three different tones. First time when you say, why did you come here? It is a routine type of question asked by people, let us say at the immigration counter. When the passengers are going out, they'll say, why did you come here? I want your reason. It's a routine question. But second time when I say, why did you come here? It indicates some interest. Say, maybe you are asking a small child and you want to be very affectionate and say, why did you come here? You tell me. So it conveys that meaning. It's a very interested, affectionate type of expression. Third time, why did you come here? Which indicates disapproval. You should not have come here at all. I don't like you to be here. That's the meaning it conveys. You see, the same sentence conveying three different attitudes by using three different tones. And this is an area where people mistake a compliment for insult and insult for a compliment and so on. A lot of confusion takes place because of this. So intonation is a very important aspect. It needs a lot of practice. We have to pay attention to that. There are audio-visual materials available for us to practice, and this is one area which has been greatly neglected in our education system. And this we have to do it by constant practice and keeping our ears open and attentive. Because English is a language where the tones are very tricky and they convey a lot of meanings beyond the words which are written or spoken. Take some complex sentences of English, and as I said, A falling tone generally conveys the completion of meaning, and the rising tone conveys the incompletion of meaning. What we do generally is we use a falling tone on the main clause and a rising tone on the subordinate clause, like this. Before I came here, I had a cup of tea. Before I came here, I had a cup of tea. When I say that, before I came here is the subordinate clause, and therefore a rising tone is used, indicating that something else is following, that the meaning is incomplete. I had a cup of tea. When I say that I had a cup of tea, falling tone on tea, that means the meaning is complete and it is the main clause. Even if you reverse the order and say, I had a cup of tea before I came here, it will be the same thing. Or if you have a phrase and followed by a sentence, a main clause, the phrase will get a rising tone and the main clause will get a falling tone, something like this. As for me, I don't want it. As for me, rising tone, I don't want it. Clause, main clause, and therefore a falling tone. And this is the general pattern that is used. And when it comes to question tags are short questions used after a statement. It is generally the falling tone which is used on the question tags. For example, if I say, it's raining, isn't it? When I say that, you all know, you all agree with me that it is raining, and therefore, isn't it is only for to strengthen that statement, and therefore, we use a falling tone on it. It's raining, isn't it? I shouldn't have done it, should I? She's late, isn't she? All falling tones. But here, again, many Indian speakers who have the habit of using a rising tone on question tags, because that is the tone which is used on the tags in their languages, and that is where there is a difference between the pattern of English and the pattern in Indian languages. The speaker should cultivate the habit of using a falling tone on question tags. He's not rich, is he? Is he? Isn't it? Shouldn't she? Wouldn't it? All falling tones. And the question tags reinforces the meaning of the statement, and therefore, it is a falling tone which should be used. A rising tone can be used only when the speaker is not sure of the statement. Otherwise, it is the falling tone which is used in most cases. When we have to keep this in mind, and we have to see that politeness is indicated by a rising tone, not so much by the words please, kindly and all that, but it's just your tone that indicates your politeness. And a good falling tone indicates completion of meaning, assertiveness, assertion, definiteness, finality, decisiveness. All this is indicated by a good falling tone. And then we have a falling tone on WH questions and a rising tone on yes-no questions, a falling tone on orders and a rising tone on requests, and a falling tone on exclamatory sentences. These are the characteristic patterns of tones in English, and we should try to acquire them, and then English will get the flavor, the right flavor that it needs. Otherwise, we will be speaking some other English, maybe Telugu English, Hindi English, Bengali English, but not English.